Hello everybody. In the last video I talked about what the goal was for this channel and talked to you guys just a little bit about the circumstances surrounding why I have this Saturn. So in this video I'd like to show you guys around the car, things I think that are cool about it. This isn't a full-on review or anything like that. I've only had the car for about 6 months, so I kind of want to wait to drive it maybe another month or two to give you guys a full review of it and all the things I've done to it. So, but in this video, we're going to do an overview of just things that are cool about Saturn and overall why I like the car and why I ultimately decided to purchase it. So, we'll go ahead and get started. The first thing that I'm sure most of you know about Saturns is plastic. All of the outer body panels are plastic, except for the hood, the roof, and the trunk lid. Everything else on the car, exterior-wise, is plastic. Now, this is good for a couple reasons. It hides rust, it's dent-resistant, meaning it won't dent as easily, and it just overall, it looks cleaner, even though they age. You'll see a lot of Saturns, and you're like, man, that's clean for the year. And that's because they use plastic construction. All the rust is hidden, see? So, luckily, this car is not rusty. I mean, it has a few spots. It's a 20-year-old car. Of course it is. This is a 2002 model year, so this is the last year they made these. And like I mentioned in the last video, this is the twin cam model, meaning this is the better motor. This is way more desirable over the single cam. And that's for a few reasons. Main one being is reliability and tunability. These make a lot more power out of the box, and you can there's a lot more aftermarket support for the twin cam. Now there's not much. I mean, if you're comparing this versus like a Honda Civic, the Civic is going to have way more modifications, and if you're wanting to build a car on a budget, a Civic would probably be the better way to go. But if you want something different like what I did, this is the way to go. So I'll kind of walk around the car here. So, and you can see it's pretty clean. I just washed it a few days ago. So I really like the styling on these. Now, the twin cams got a few things different. In the 2000, this is the third generation. So that's from 2000 to 2002. Most of the single cams had painted bumpers, but the generation before that did not have painted bumpers on the single cam. But they were optional, I believe, on the single cam with this generation. Another way you can tell them apart, too, is the taillight bar. Most of them were painted if it was a single cam. But this is a big reflector. One of these days, I'd like to take and clear that out and put some lights behind it, so it'd be a full-on brake light bar like you see on like a Dodge Durango and stuff like that. So I'll go ahead and unlock it. Another cool thing I liked about these two is the lights flash when it unlocks, which is kind of cool. So I'll show you guys that now. This is the factory key fob, just a generic GM key fob. So you get 2 clicks. Second is unlocked, and you can see I've got some nice seat covers put in here. So I'll go ahead and pop the hood for you guys. The hood latch is just right there. And I'll show you what's so cool about this one. Alright, and I apologize. I have to put the hood prop up, and it's kind of hard to do this as one person. Okay. So, this is a very, very clean example. So, things I've done under here is very minimal. I cleaned out the throttle body when I got it. That's one of the common things on these. The throttle body's right there, and it sometimes gets clogged up with like carbon deposits and stuff, and it causes the throttle to kind of have not necessarily a sticking sensation, but like when you first press it, it'll kind of stick for a second. It's really weird. So if you're having that issue, clean your throttle body and see if that fixes it. And As you can see, I put a K&N filter in it because, like I said, I'm into cars, so I got to put a better filter in. So, but it's really clean under here, easy access to everything. So you got your washer fluid, your coolant reservoir, power steering fluid, brake fluid, and the other nice thing about these too is these got a transmission dipstick and a transmission plug and filter, meaning you don't have to drop the pan if you need to do a coolant change, a transmission change, which is super nice. I've already done one on this, and it's made life awesome. So it would have been a lot easier without it. So anyway, the difference you'll see between the twin cam and the single cams had a metal cover even on this generation. Now, the previous generation SL2s, or the twin cams, they had a metal cover, but you can tell they're a twin cam. So that's kind of the difference. You can spot that pretty easily. And something else you can do to tell them apart is this has a speedo that'll go up to 130. Now, I'm never going to test that, and I doubt that this could get up that fast, but, you know, it's kind of nice to know that that's there. So, I guess we'll go ahead and start in the interior. I'm a bigger guy. I'm about 6'3", and I can fit in here. It's not easy, but I do fit. I have enough leg room and enough headroom, so that's not a problem. Most people will say, you know, on smaller cars like this, you know, you have troubles with headroom and leg room, and I just haven't had that experience. Now, I have a friend who is about 6'6", and he fit in the car barely. He had his knees up against the dash there. I felt kind of bad for him, so I drove a different car when we were out hanging out. So anyway, obviously these seat covers are not factory. I got those for a Christmas present, so I went ahead and installed those. So on this car, it's pretty loaded. It's not fully loaded by any means, but this has a lot of options. So it has cruise control, the tilt wheel. AC was an option back in the day, so mine has AC, power locks. It doesn't have auto locks, meaning when you drive down the road, once you get past like 15 miles an hour, they don't auto lock. So, but that's not a big deal. There's a button right there. And I have power windows. Now, something that struck out is interesting to me on this car. I grew up mainly driving minivans and stuff like that. I'm used to having all the window switches right here on the door panel. But on this car, they're right there in the center stack along with your mirror controls. Something kind of different that makes these unique, in my opinion. Now, build quality. The plastics are good quality. They're kind of put together poorly. I mean, you can see mine's got weird gaps and stuff. I mean, it's by no means perfect, but this is, you gotta remember, this is early 2000s, mid-90s GM. So you're gonna have some small, tiny fit and finish issues. Nothing, you know, not a really big deal. So I guess now we'll go into the trunk, and I'll show you guys the trunk. So on this car, you have a fuel door, and you have your trunk release here. And you can also unlock this from the remote, too. So you can see, it's actually quite a decent-sized trunk. This is a 15-inch wheel, just kind of for scale. So as you can see, I've got all kinds of winter supplies in here. I'm hoping to make a video on that for you guys shortly. So, but as you can see, it's got plenty of trunk space. I was able to get a full load of groceries for me and my family, which is a challenge because we like to eat. So I was able to get a full load in there, no problem. And then in the back seats, they actually have a decent amount of room. I can sit back here as long as I'm not sitting behind myself. Sitting behind myself is kind of tight because I have the seat pretty much as far back as it'll go. So next we'll talk about the seats. Sorry about that. I have a limit on my camera, so we'll show you guys this. So this is a 60-40 split, which is nice because you can still have two people sitting in the middle, or you can have one person and have this pass through. It just makes life really easy. So, and these seat about 5. I've had 5 people in here total. It's tight, but it's very much doable. So anyway, that's a quick overview. Stuff that makes this different than, you know, a traditional car. Of course, you have the plastics, but one of the main things that I like about it is the way it handles and the way the chassis is designed. Now, the chassis, that's what makes this handle so differently from its competitors. I have to attest, I haven't driven a Civic from this era, but I have driven newer ones. I do like the way the newer ones drive, don't get me wrong, but I like the way this drives a lot more. I don't know if it's just me or what. And the reason being is this is designed completely different. So the plastic panels are designed to come off. There was actually, when you bought the car, you could go in if you wanted a different color, and they would swap out the body panels for you, which was kind of cool. Or if you had a crack or something happened with your body panel, they could just take it off and put it on. You can't do that with unibody cars because they are unibody, meaning the outside panels also support the structure. So this has what's called a space frame. So that means that all the structures supporting the weight of the vehicle, you know, your crash zones and everything, that is all under the plastic sheeting. So they basically just bolt up the panels, which is nice for a couple reasons. One, it's safer. Number 2, it's lighter, because this car only weighs about 2,300 pounds. A comparable Civic weighs about 2,700, I believe. So that makes this really, really lightweight, and it still has a decently peppy engine. Of course, you can always ask for more power. Everybody always wants more power in whatever they own. But that's, you know, that's typical. So, and the company thought differently, and everything was designed in-house. They were a lot more like the modern Toyota that we see now than than what GM became. So GM at the time was, was famous for badge engineering, which is, taking one car's platform and spreading it amongst lots of automakers, okay? This car was the only real Saturn, and the reason for that is because this one was designed all in-house. They did everything at the Tennessee plant. Nobody at GM touched it. The only thing that they carried over were parts that they felt that they didn't need to re-engineer. And I forget which parts that is now. But just basic parts that the Saturn engineers didn't feel like re-engineering because, like door handles and stuff like that. Who's going to care about a door handle? Seriously. So, this was all ground up design, and that's what made it cool. And they also employed the on-time technique like what Toyota does. Toyota delivers the parts as they need it, and then they assemble it on the car, and if something happens with a batch of cars, they can catch it easier. Now, that hasn't worked too well during the pandemic for them, as I'm sure most of you know. So they've kind of had to revert to a different business model. But when these were around, this was 2000. There's no way anybody could have known about this. So they were completely different. And they had 3 different body styles you could get. You could get a sedan like this. You could get a wagon, which I would really like to find a wagon. I love the wagons. And then you could get a coupe. All on the basic same architecture, but it was all designed in-house. And they had 2 motors. These motors were designed in-house as well. And for the time, they made a lot of power, actually. This made 124 horsepower, and I think it got bumped up in these years. So I'm sure this one's probably closer to like 126 or something like that. So, anyway, but that's what kind of made him different, and that was what I really liked about it when I first started reading and, you know, looking up what made Saturn Saturn. So, it was a different kind of car company and a very different time. So, anyway, so that's just kind of a quick overview of my 2002 Saturn SL2. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If there's content that you guys would like to see, please feel free to let me know what that is in the comments down below, what you guys would like to see me discuss, and just overall what you guys would like to see me do to Sally. Or oh yeah, I should have mentioned, I've given this kind of like a pet name, if you will. I call this Sally the Saturn SL2. It was kind of a joke that started in my family, and I just decided to keep it, much to my family's chagrin, I guess. So, anyway, but yeah, if you guys would like to see anything, please feel free to comment down below, and if you enjoyed the video, please feel free to leave a like. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.